Bruce Wayne is more of an upper class kind of
Yeah.
person, and so it sits deeper in the chest. Nice American, clean, deeper sound, and then Batman comes out of there. So yeah.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome on into an amazing and exciting episode of Behind the Voice because I'm joined by Michael right here, who played Batman in Gotham Knights. Thank you so much again for doing this. This is so incredible.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and always an honor to share my experience with others. So thanks for bringing me on.
You won't get a chance. Gotham is their city now.
Me playing Gotham Knights, and I'm a big fan of DC and obviously Batman. And when I played Gotham Knights, I was first of all very shocked to see, okay, Batman is gone, and I was like, well, that's great. But like, I just enjoyed how that it was quite different than how I've seen Batman before. So, as Gotham Knight is out and a lot of people have played it, what do you feel about, recognized as Batman, a very big role in like superhero world, I guess you can say?
Well, it's a dream come true, an honor, and not something you think you'll get to necessarily say in your lifetime. You'd be like, I'm Batman, and and that it's an honor. I mean, it really is an honor to get the opportunity to play a role like that. So you're stepping into some big shoes to do justice to all the people who've done it before and bring your own take to it. So everything about just getting the opportunity to actually being Batman, and then waiting for an audience response to see how you're received for your version of it. It's all amazing, intimidating, and but very, very, I guess, an incredible thing to participate in. So
That's so wonderful. I mean, was it ever a moment where you're like, okay, I want this I'm Batman line in the game, or just want a small piece,
of
like
course,
it has
I
to be.
wish. Yeah.
You know?
You kind of, like I wish there was parts where I could say that, but you kind of find ways to say it in your own, with what you have in there,
Yeah.
with the scripts they give you, like what has that same feel to it. And like the part in the beginning or even in the end where his final speech, and he's like, to me, that's where I felt I got an opportunity to bring my version of Batman out of him, and how he would take things. I won't let you. So,
Yeah.
that's that feel like I'm Batman. So
Like in your head is going like, this is the moment I'm Batman. I said it.
this is the moment. Yeah.
It's so cool. Like, is there like a secret or like a recipe or something that you have to prepare for in order to get that Batman voice, or that maybe Bruce Wayne? I don't know. I don't know what that voice is, but like, is there something that you did to get that voice?
I've said this a few times, and I'll share with you too. Like the funniest thing for me was, I was playing Alexios in Assassin's Creed prior to this,
Yeah.
and I auditioned for this when I was doing the Atlantis DLC for
Oh.
Assassin's Creed, and so I sent in a tape and an audition. I was only supposed to be. It was a test, actually. It wasn't even for like the game yet. It was only a test shoot. They needed someone to do this Bruce Wayne scene so they could send this in for approval. They hadn't had the game fully approved yet, and they wanted the whole thing. So I was a test actor, and they tested in Canada across someone who could do this, and I sent in this thing. So I had previously, when I created Alexios, I wanted to bring out this feel of Batman, but a Greek Batman.
Yeah.
So I started off with creating Alexios under this thing of like, okay, where would that sit? I saw this picture they'd given me of this assassin, and I was like, okay, good off. Like,
deeper sound. So I bring it into my chest. And so like I brought out this sort of Batman sort of sound, and then I made him Greek. So that was where Alexios came from, was this sort of Greek
Yeah.
Batman.
And and so I'd been working on that tone for a long time at that point, almost 2 years. And I found a place where it sat very naturally for me after a while, and I was okay, here it is. So then I just took off the accent and I made him more American, proper American, because Bruce Wayne is more of an upper class kind of person. And so it sits deeper in the chest. And then I aged him a bit. And which just means you make things slower, elongate.
Yeah.
And so then I created Bruce out of that. And there's Bruce Wayne. So it's just that nice American, clean, deeper sound. And then Batman comes out of there. So yeah.
It's
Which
so
I actually wanted to keep Batman and Bruce in a similar range without changing him too much. Because I really like how that had been done in the animated series. I was watching all the different versions and interpretations. I was like, I like when he doesn't they can modulate it, but I don't want to modulate him too much. I want him to be similar to his natural placement, maybe just a hair different.
Yeah. That's great. I love that. It's like, listening to your voice and like, yeah, that's Batman. So it's so cool just listening to it. And you mentioned like the animated series, and I love the Batman animated series. I think that's the only, from the DC side, that's the only animated series I watched. And there's only one Marvel show I watched. These are only two of the animated shows I ever watched. And one of the Marvel side was Spider-Man. But like had to be. It's like I'm a big Spider-Man fan. But like, did you have like any inspirations, like apart from maybe you watched those animated series? What were you like? What were your like biggest inspirations of getting into the role of Batman?
Well, I did watch a lot of Kevin Conroy because he's the iconic sound that everyone feels like they love that version of Batman. But even Kevin had a lot of different interpretations because he'd done some film versions of Batman. Apart from the series, he'd done a lot of other sort of versions, just like Mark Hamill's done a lot of versions of his Joker through the different projects he's been a part of. And so I noticed that. I was like, okay, here's his young Bruce, here's his old Bruce, here's this. And I was like, okay. And then I just started branching out to all the other actors that I could find who'd play Batman and listening to all their interpretations. I really liked Roger Craig Smith, who'd also played Ezio, who I used as a foundation for Alexios as well, because of that. His older version of Ezio, I like that deep tonality. It was Italy, so close to Greece, so I wanted to keep a feel similar to that. And so he had a great Batman as well, and I was like, okay, he has a really good sound because he did the Arkham series.
Yeah, Arkham games too.
Yeah, and and now I've become friends with Roger, and I just got to meet Kevin right before he passed away, sadly. And it felt like a little, pass the torch, so I was very grateful. And they were great people to use for me as as a foundation, because it's different. Voice work's different than film and television, and that all has its own style of performance as well. And I like what all those actors have brought to it. But I definitely used more the voiceover performers as my basis and grounding. But I wanted to make the character, because it was motion capture, performance capture as well. I wanted to bring out more, how do I put it? There's a quality that's happening in performance capture that is filmic. So it's not just VO anymore. It's not just voiceover. When you perform slightly different when it's just voiceover to when you're actually in a motion performance capture suit and performing as you would be on film. So I wanted to bring that realism and slight more subtlety to the performance than just like very stoic Batman, blah, blah, blah. Like I wanted to bring a more natural quality to it. And because it is the end of his life, it was really important that I find this balance between subtlety and truth and performance.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Is it which is more fun for you to do, like performance capture, I guess, or like just voiceover? Is it like much more fun to just do what you did here, or Just sit down.
Performance capture.
Yeah. Is it
I
because
love
you just push out all of your energy in it?
I've been doing performance capture for 20 years, and I started in theater, so that's where I began my whole career, and then went to my first big job was on a motion capture stage for Lord of the Rings for a video game, and then I got into animations. Then I was pursuing a film and television career, and after all the years, like performance capture has become it was my bread and butter. It became my thing, my niche. I really loved the idea of donning other people onto me. So like your body became a puppet suit.
Yeah.
And I didn't need a puppet. I didn't need to put something on top of me. Like all I needed was my mind. You put me in this tight suit with balls all over it in a black room with lights and everywhere. And the rest was up to me.
Yeah.
I didn't need wardrobe. I didn't need anything actually other than my mind and my other actors to perform with and that connection. And the rest was in your imagination. And so it was kind of like the highest form of theater, because it's slightly performed like you would for theater, and you're in a theater in the round, black box.
Yeah.
So there's this, and you don't have to consider the cameras all the time as you would for film, where it's a super tight close up and you have to do everything behind the eyes. Here, your body's fully included and captures all of it. So it became this weird fusion between theater and film and voiceover. So it like had all three things combined into one. And it's a playground where I didn't have to think about makeup, the way I look, how's this, that, blah, blah. So it's just about the craft.
Yeah.
And is it believable? Because they're going to animate that being. And it doesn't matter. I'm this Greek guy. I'm not necessarily going to get to play Bruce Wayne for a film. As cool as that would be, I know my role. It's like,
you never know.
You never know. If diversity
there could be a
Greek Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, there could be like a whole multiverse thing, and there's gonna be Bruce Wayne from this earth and whatever.
Yeah, right. I'm all down for it. And but as far as a general aspect, it's it's an opportunity to play something I wouldn't necessarily get to play if it was just film. And you can don on any mask in performance capture, any mask, as long as it's believable. You tell the truth, do your best, and they animate that being, an audience believes it. You can be anything. So I find that to be one of the most fun venues to be in.
Yeah, it's crazy. I just watched the behind the scenes footage. I'm like, that must be so fun, and my interest peaks up, and I'm like, that's just interest. I probably am better staying behind the scenes, just watching it, because I'm definitely not an actor. Don't get there because I've been in a position where like I like it so much, and when I was like I'm gonna do this, and when I research it, this is too much. This is definitely not my playground. So I'm like, what was I thinking? So that goes.
Well, even I watch some people, behind the scenes, and I get inspiration and like Benedict Cumberbatch's Smog. I just watch all the time, and just his embodiment in it. I am fire. I am death, whatever. And I'm just in it. I'm like, oh, dude, gives me goose. And I'm like, yeah, I start working harder to like bring that out in my stuff, where I want to be that invested and committed. Like I see other performers of high caliber doing the same thing. And yeah, we get inspired too. And even I can feel intimidated. So don't worry, it happens.
Oh, it's we all get it. The whole thing. I see like that's very intimidating. I'm like, that's good. I'm not pursuing that. I probably will be. I start off and my graph just goes all the way down, steeping. So, but
oh yeah, no, you'll see me. I'm like a guy in the garage being like, okay, I'm gonna sit here and practice till I get that sound. Like, I feel your air. Like I'm gonna figure out how he's doing this until I can figure it out.
Yeah. You gotta get through that.
Yeah.
So but you said motion capture, like you must have seen like the evolution of like motion capture from Lord of the Rings, that game, till now, like in Batman, like that evolution. What do you think about that?
Huge difference. It's the general idea is the same. It's just the technology that captures it has just vastly changed. but the general concept of it all is still the same aspect of performance, except it's just gotten more subtle. Like I said, it's more filmic now. They can capture everything. So back then it was only motion capture. There was no head cameras. They couldn't capture your facial movements. So they'd have to record all of that stuff in a chair. When I started, you'd be sitting on the spot. You can't really move around. And like, you just like, it's all here. And they put these gummy dots. I called them snot balls, and they glue them to your face basically. And you just sit in a chair making all these funny facial movements and them capturing everything that way. That was when I first started. And nowadays it's gotten to the point where Batman in particular, they just, the first day you arrive, they dot your face, they have the camera, they capture all your facial movements. It's called a facial ROM, range of movement. They capture all your facial movements, and they have a full script you have to follow. It takes a while. And then once it's in, they lock it in. That's it. So all your facial movements are now like in there, and they have a tiny little camera with no light shining in your face anymore like they used to. I'll give an example after, but and it's not as obtrusive as they used to be. It's great. It's really simple to act with now. And I know in 10 years, we're not even going to have the facial cameras. That's going to be gone. They'll just capture you based on the room. Where like other studios I work with have like a full head camera with 3 lights on them, all, with the 3 cameras with 3 lights, all blasting your face while you're acting. Damn. And you have to learn to work through that and see through that and act with your other partner without feeling blinded. And it's just an obstacle you get around. But once you get used to it, it's a little easier. But I'm seeing the progression. The progression has been really neat. They used to have these uncomfortable helmets 5 years ago, 6 years ago. They hurt the temples. I was like so hard on the sides of the head because they were still figuring out how to make them really, really comfortable. 3D printing is also changed the game now.
Completely.
So contraptions they used to have were like metal and big, and like now there's just 3D print these little things, and they like all sit, and you're like, oh, these are great. So we just watching how things have changed in 20 years has been really neat. And the people who are arriving now to it for their first time actors, they have no idea all the stuff that came before. Like, oh, this is great. Yeah, you don't know what it was like to have these blinding red lights all over the room before they changed the lighting systems. You have headaches by 1 o'clock, plus the camera gear like just busting into the sides of your temples after 4 hours of pressure. So you're like, and you have to move the cameras off your head just like in between takes and then bring it back down. So it's been a lot. It's gotten so much better, and I'm very grateful, because it was a lot of obstacles to get around.
Yeah, the new actors, you'd be like, you have no idea what pain I have to go through. You're just enjoying the good things right now.
Test subjects for 20 years to get there.
Well, I'm happy that it sounds like a pain. Like the previous versions, like sound like a pain. Like the helmet sitting on your head for so long, and then you can take it out. It's a kind of relief. Like, oh my God, it's gone. So I'm happy that it's that part of it is like gotten a little better.
Yes, it has. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Immensely better.
and I love the technology. Holy crap! Like everything looks so detailed, and everything can be captured so well. And it's like, wow, like we have gone so far. And I'm like also loving that a lot of more actors are also getting involved in video games now, and then video games also going to the TV shows and movies. Like The Last of Us got into a series, and like there's so much stuff happening. Like, what do you think? Like, this merge in some way of like video games and like movies or Hollywood, I guess. How that has been changed from then till now.
Well, what I really liked in regards to, say, like The Last of Us was that they did their best to honor the game.
Yeah.
They added some things, like, they've elongated, I think, that relationship storyline with the couple, the 2 guys. Mm-hmm. They added some stuff, but they did it in really respectful ways. And they created something I thought that was really, really cool to see, that you didn't have to change the game storyline that much to make it a TV series or to make it a movie. You can actually take that template and just learn how to transfer it and make slight adjustments to make it work for film and television. Because I know games don't necessarily always have the same storyline narratives to follow as the script structure of a film and TV, but you can sort of adjust them to make them work without dishonoring the game. And I really like that about Last of Us. And even The Witcher, which I didn't play the game, but and I know there's books as well. I really, more than anything, respect Henry Cavill's approach to like honoring that. Before the TV series, you honor the story. Before the money, and before whatever you want to influence that story with by social narratives and society and modern day this and that, blah, blah, blah. Someone wrote a story. That story's awesome.
Yeah.
Someone turned that into a game and honored the story, and they made it awesome. All we have to do is take the template of the game, transfer it into a TV series, and keep it consistent to a really well-written story, but now make it work in that format. If you can do that, I mean, you've just got a structure for success. And I think it's awesome because you're now taking these really creative and incredible stories that haven't been given the venue to be seen in film and TV, and you're bringing them over. Just honor them, because I've just seen so many versions bastardize great games. They ruin them. I'm sorry, you turn in television, you had all these crazy ideas when you could have just taken what was there and almost carbon copied it onto a movie.
Yeah.
And everyone would have been happy.
Yeah, there would have been no curse of like video game curse that has never been. No video game can ever turn into a movie curse that people talk about, which sort of Last of Us lifted. Yeah, they're breaking it.
Yeah,
and I love that.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm happy for because The Last of Us started it, and I'm like really excited to see where it goes. Because it's like a God of War TV series possibly like happening, so I'm like super excited for all of this things going to movie. Like Super Mario got into the movie, and a lot of people love that.
That looks good. I want to see it. I heard people loved it.
I haven't seen it yet, and like a lot of people saying like it's great, like you got to see it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to wait for a little bit.
And that's where the tech is getting even cooler with Unreal Engine coming into the game. Now with Unreal, like what's going to stop us from making full cinematic films with an Unreal worlds with actors doing performance capture, and you create these characters with performance capture, but now you've created these whole worlds in Unreal, and you can make TV series or movies all in that world. I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
Now you can take that game and literally make it a movie.
That would be insane.
Or series. Yeah.
I would love to see that, because you're right. Like Unreal Engine right now looks so insane. They can literally just turn into a movie, a game that continues the movie. It would be crazy if that ever happens.
Like I would love to go back and do Assassin's Creed, like that storyline with Cassandra and everything. And and just make it a film. In Unreal.
That would be super cool.
Be so cool.
Yeah.
Put on Netflix. Here's a series. Their journey to like, that family storyline, Cassandra and Alexios. And all the whole thing. And it would make a really cool, I just think it would make an incredible either film or little miniseries on Netflix. You could do it with all the Assassin's Creed games.
That's true. You can do that with all the Assassin's Creed. And speaking of Assassin's Creed, like I know I played the games and I loved your character, and I played both sides of it, Alexios and also Cassandra, and I was like,
both.
Yeah. I played at Alexios at first, and I was like, I wanted to check out, like probably last year or last year, I wanted to go back and play, and I was like, what if I played the other character, Cassandra? And I was like, yeah, let's try it out. I loved it. So like, what was that like being part of Assassin's Creed? It's such a big franchise, my God. And I loved the very initial games, and I stopped playing it for a little while because there were so many games, and then the later game came out, which was completely different. So what was that like an experience of being in Assassin's Creed world?
It was great. What a cool brotherhood of people. Because once I found it was even announced that I was the character, like all the other assassins came out of the woodwork and like congratulating. And I'm friends with them. Like Victoria Atkin and I are friends. Paul Amos and I are friends. Abu and I are friends. You know, like all these people from previous games just started coming out. You're like, oh, this is cool. Which I didn't expect. And, you know, I know again, like Batman, you're jumping onto something big. You know, people have this big feel. What are you bringing to the table and bringing your own take of it? Big shoes to fill. Incredible game. Also, because it was ancient Greek, it was like really big for me.
Yeah.
To kind of honor my heritage and have an opportunity to do something like that was really, really special. I think the two biggest things I got out of that were my relationship with Cassandra Melisanthi, and I are like besties. She's like family, and bringing Greece to life and having the opportunity to be a part of that, like in a way that people could pick up a controller and go through that ancient world and see everything. And I cried when I saw it all happening because I grew up seeing all those places, and now someone brought them to life with color and 3D models, and you're like, oh my god, this is what it looked like. So for me it was very special, and to make Malacca world famous. Malacca world famous was special.
That's wonderful.
You know, Scarface gets his thing, everyone gets their thing. I got Malacca.
Oh man, that is, I just loved the whole entire world and everything about this Assassin's Creed game, and I enjoyed it so much, and I died quite a lot, but like it was
hard not to.
It's hard not to. Like I don't know how people play it. Like I'm just horrible in general, and when I play games, so it's
this beer.
Oh wow, so cool. Jesus, did you ever use that ever, like in your house or something with your, like?
Oh yeah, all the time. My kids, you got a problem? Pull out the spear.
Okay.
And then they take it from me and chase me.
Oh god. This was like a like such a great piece of yours, and like your kids use it and then just chase you, which is like hilarious. Like, yep, that's why you do video games. But like I have, you know, you speaking of like all the games that you mentioned about, like some of the games that you have you know, been a part of these games, and you've also mentioning some other games. Did you play games in general?
I used to when I was younger. I like to play games. I was a big first person shooter type thing. I loved Metal Gear Solid, Siphon Filter, what other ones I could think off the top of my head, but I really liked first person. And then as life took over, and then, you know, family, kids, I haven't had the time because I'm a creative. I really like to create. So whatever time I get to do, I'm either studying spiritual wisdom, you know, esoteric knowledge, history, and or basically creating, writing my own stories, writing my own things. And to find time with family, kids, that career, to play games has been an obstacle. So I watch a lot of games, so I can keep up with things. So I see how things are working. I see the style. I do that, and that keeps me informed of the worlds and, you know, what's happening. But I don't get a chance to actually sit down and play them because, you know, if you play Assassin's Creed, you know it's gonna be, that's a 50-hour minimum investment.
It's a long game. These are long games. Jesus.
One guy sent me 500. His thing, I finished everything, 500 hours, everything complete. I was like, holy, like that's wild. I like kudos.
Kudos, yeah. I don't know how people. Yeah, I don't know how people get so much of time. Like I play games surely, but like I don't have enough time to play 500 hours of a game. Like it sounds so much, and especially even if like another Assassin's Creed game comes out, I'm like, I know these games are long. I don't know if I will have enough time to give to that game because they're so long. So it's so hard to finish any game nowadays. If there's some games just that don't require too much time to finish it, I'll probably play it. But these games, it's so much to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you're jumping into worlds, and then I got to learn how to use all the controllers.
Yeah, that's another hassle. Like, oh my god, especially when
you got to like learn all the things for each game. You're like, oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, that's gonna take a while on its own, and then you have like, oh, you have so much to do. Like that's great, and it's like when you get into the game, and if you started really liking it, then there's no going back, and then you have to like, I have to finish this. I've got to give time. Like it's a whole deal.
Right?
Yeah,
It's
a
like
whole
starting a
job.
series and not finishing it. So it better be
Exactly.
good.
Oh my god. Uh, so in terms of like all the video games that you've been a part of and you're part of other games as well, like Far Cry 6 also you're part of.
Yeah.
Like what was like what is it like for you to be a part of game, or do you and like so far, like what has it been for you? Like I know you've done movies and stuff as well and TVs, and but like what is it for you like being part of video games that maybe probably made it special?
I mean, for me, it's probably an interesting answer. I like video games because it still has huge respect for the craft. Um, they might not realize it on the programming side of things and the creative like of making games, but for the actor like myself, like we really more than I can say for film and TV in some aspects, because there's a lot that goes into film and television with editing and style and this and that. Like there's a ton, and not to say it doesn't matter in both, but there's, like I said, it's me in a black box with nothing to help me but my mind
Yeah.
and my body. And so I love that element that it's really you have to be a skilled craftsman in the acting field to at least be able to jump into other characters and not just play your one character, but to be like, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do? And I've played so many different things because I've helped build libraries of movements. I've helped build all these different things for other games. And during that, you have to do a ton of different physical characteristics, played many different characters to fill those libraries of old people, young people. And I think that aspect of play, I can only find it in performance capture.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the craft I really get to explore in here and push myself. There was one game, I can't say what one yet, but we had to do in the beginning of all the lockdown stuff, like maybe halfway through the lockdown, quarter way through the lockdown, somewhere in there. And the studio wouldn't allow any actors at the studio. They didn't want to have any outside people. So they eventually opened up and said, okay, we'll hire one actor. And that actor has to fulfill all of the requirements of the scene. But we're only going to give them a 4-hour window to shoot. So you have to arrive at 8, you get ready, or whatever time it was, 8 or 9, you arrive, and then you have to shoot, and you'll be done by 2. All the stuff we need, because we only want them in there. And that includes shooting and prepping for 4 hours. That's all you get, basically. It was like whatever it was. It was like you 2 hour and something shoot. You're like, that's all we want. So they're like, okay, there's 5 main characters and 12 background characters, and they're all unique, different people.
Yeah.
What can we do? And so this is where I get really excited, is someone goes like, who can do this? Someone gives me a call. They're like, oh, he can, because he understands what that means. So I get a call. And I'm like, can you do this? I'm like, I don't know. Let's find out. And so I'm playing 5 main characters in a scene, all interacting with each other, physical body movements, each different for each different person. And so we pre-record with other actors' voices, including my own, to play the characters. And then I memorize all of their lines, all of the way they intonate their lines, timing, and I build a physical performance for each of them while their voices are happening. And then I do one character at a time and have it all playing out in my head, knowing what each person is doing at each point. As I've created it all in my world, one person has to punch another guy in the face. I have to get hit in the face, that exact angle from that way, so that it all matches up in post. And this person's going to look at this person at this moment. So then I'm doing that and acting later by myself. and then at that moment I have to look over at that person, like, so creating all this stuff, and then all the background characters and this, and like, so it was, to me, that was heaven. An obstacle to meet, a challenge of such, but it's all about the craft.
Yeah.
And pushing your abilities to, like, can I do this? Sitting in my garage and memorizing, planning, getting it all set up, and then arriving on the day. I got 2 hours. Can I pull off 5 main characters, everything plus all the sub, and we nailed it.
Damn.
And yeah.
That's amazing. That sounds so much to me. It's like, oh my God, you had to do so much, but you used to make it sound also easy. Like I did it. Like it was fine. I did 5 characters and like it was so like, yeah, so much in this, and I just love it. But like, I don't know.
Well, man, prep, preparation. People say it's easy. It's not easy. It's a ton of work.
Yeah.
But you make it look easy because you got to put in that time, that prep, and so that it is easy.
Yeah, I cannot imagine like how much. I mean, it definitely must take a lot of time to like prep on all these things and figure out what to do, because I mean, you have done it so well, and I cannot believe that you had to go through this project. I was like, wow, that's insane, because to me it sounds like I can't. There's no way. There's no way I will be able to even think about this. Like, I'm probably like, I have to do that. Like, okay, bye. Like, I'm probably not. So it's like, but you have like that much passion, and then you want to do it, and then you have that. It's so amazing to just listen to that. That you figured that out, and you did it, and you enjoyed it as well. So, did you ever, like, in general, like when you were doing all these motion capture or video games, or in movies and everything, whenever you have like, especially these new challenges that you have to do, were you ever like, yeah, have that moment where you're scared, or like you have like anxiety going on, or is it like you always take it as a challenge and like, I can do this, I'll just have to figure it out? Or what does go?
I mean, you definitely have. It's a fusion. I think you can get these feelings of overwhelm that can come up for you, especially leading up to the shoot, or leading up to those times where you feel like, okay, there's a lot of pressure. Batman hit me a few times in my preparation days. I was like, oh, overwhelmed with like, thinking about external perceptions on you, and you're like, I have to cut that out. I can't because it hurts. It's just too much to think about what other people think about you. And there are times on different sets. I think on Assassins, I had a couple where I felt really that pressure of uncertainty, and you have to take it with stride, and you have to be gentle with yourself, because it's not easy putting yourself on the line on everything, hoping that it's going to be received well, or they're going to take it, or whatever's going to happen is between the process of you doing a record, whether it's film or TV, and how it's going to be presented in the end, you've got no control over. And yeah, there are times where you can definitely feel. I remember on Assassins, in one particular scene, like I remember when our mom was, that we kill our mother. Do you remember that scene? If in the end, if you choose that path, and Melisandre she did a beautiful performance, and it was hard not to feel like you're being called to be like as good as someone else. You're like, oh, she did so good. Can I even? In that moment, you're like, I need to be that or better. I need to be that or better. It's not I need to be whatever. It's like, that's how you feel inside. So you're like, that pressure inside, like she had tears. I remember her dots were like streaming down, like, cause they had these ink dots, and it hit her, it hit a tear, and the tear grabbed the dot, and it was like pulling the streaking dots down her face during the take, and I was laughing so hard. I'm like on the side, but it was also like, and to me, tears aren't coming. I'm like, why are my tears coming? And
I gotta do something quick,
right? Like, somebody get me. No, but it's but it's an easy field to feel like you're not doing your best, and it's so easy to be hard on yourself. And as an actor, that's probably one of the biggest obstacles we have is internal talk, and how we treat ourselves, really. Like, so I do my best to treat everything, like you said, like a challenge, an obstacle, but also breathing through it. I mean, like, as long as I'm showing up, I've done the homework, and I can let go and do my best and connect with someone. If I can really connect with someone, then I can kind of forget about it. Because all I'm really aiming for at that point, I've done the homework, I've done everything I can, I've put it all in, and now I'm showing up and connecting. And that connection is that last ingredient that I can only do in the moment with the other person. There's nothing I can pre-do to that moment other than my homework. And in that moment, it's now. It's in the now and in the now. And if I can get to that now with someone else, I can throw it away. If I feel like I accomplished that, I can throw it away and let it go and feel good and wait till it shows up and watch it and go, okay, all right, good. That felt honest. It felt true. And if we can accomplish at least that seed, that's my job. That's my ingredient to the whole production.
Yeah, that's true. It's so hard, as you mentioned. It's so hard to not go in that mindset of, not exactly mindset, but like not go into that thought process that goes into your head, like, okay, all the negativities that goes into your head, you probably, you like, it's you're trying to think positive. At least for me, like when I'm trying to think positive, like I can do this, and then there's a voice in my head like, remember that time where you screwed up, like, oh yes, and then it goes back like, haha, you're gonna screw. And so it's like that thing keeps on going, and like it's so hard to figure that part out where you have to block that and then just remember that you can do the best as you can with whatever you have prepared. Like, remember what you have prepared, what you have done good things in the past and all that stuff. um so it's definitely hard, and I struggle with a lot, especially even today, like right before this call. I was getting nervous. I was like, I've done this before, and I was like, I've done this before, and I'm like all these things, and I'm like, but what if like that there was another interview and that happened and I was not able to connect that? Well, what if that happens again? And it's like all those things always crawls up to my head. So that's why I always like, I feel like a lot of people who are either acting in whatever profession they are, they have must have been going through this, the dealing this kind of like things in their head, like when they are trying to do something, or whenever they're in certain projects. And I think like maybe this, sharing this story a little bit might help them out as well to, proceed with whatever they're trying to do a little bit better, if possible.
Well, if we're going to go there, I'll add in one element of, your presence and your groundedness is going to be influenced by your thoughts and your breath. Most of us don't breathe enough. And when we don't breathe, we actually end up creating a lot of mind activity. And so if we could kind of center our presence back into our hearts and like our bodies and breathing and grounding, it'll presence us, which is one of the fastest ways out of the mind.
Yeah.
Is your breath. And so getting back to your breathing, even if you're thinking about breathing, at least you're focusing on one thing. So that's just a simple, because there's lots of tips and tricks. I have many tools that like help me get out of my head, which are valuable and changed my life and helped me through whatever process I'm going through to help me in the moment. Like even before we get on this calls, like I have a sit down process. It takes me a minute, and it's, if you want more on it, there's a really great book or audiobook I'm just finishing with her right now. It's by Farzana Jaffer Jarraj, and it's called I Cheat at Meditation. It's really just a minute, and people see me doing this on set or before my auditions and everything, and I look like I'm possessed. No joke. I guess I'll show it to you so you can see it in your audience. But why don't you do it with me, actually? So I'll show you once, and then you're going to do it. And then this is for all your audience. This will help ground you into the present moment, change your frequency from, I think, alpha, or to alpha or theta. I can't remember which one it is, but basically changing your frequency to slow down from a high frequency to just a more chill, relaxed one. And when you can do that and be more present with another person, that actually will take care of most of the work for you.
That's
Most of the mind things, most of that stuff, because you're like, oh, I'm just right here. Get into I'm just right here. It takes us out of like, oh, I'm thinking about the future. What's this going to do for me? Or I'm thinking about the past. What happened before this and like, wait, I'm the only place I am right now is right here.
Yeah. The present
So
itself.
I'm gonna get more here.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay, so breathe out. Okay, you're gonna take a deep breath in. Full breath, hold it. Don't let it out. Hold it. Okay, now what you're going to do next is you're going to look up under your eyelids like this. I'm going to show you open-eyed, but you're just going to keep your eyes closed, look up under your eyelids while holding your breath, okay? And you're going to relax your jaw and then your shoulders, and then you're going to let it out. Good, so you do that 3 times. Do one more, okay? Breathe in. Look up under your eyelids as high as you can without lifting your chin up. Okay, and relax your body, relax your shoulders, relax your jaw. Hold it, looking up under your eyelids. When you're ready, let it go. Why not? Do one more for fun. Okay.
I'm actually liking this. This is really cool.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to waste your audience's time, but 3 of those in a row. That's the key. 3 of those in a row. Take your time with it. You'll feel lightheaded. You might feel weird. Your eyes will start to flicker under your eyelids. That's good. If your eyes are flickering under your eyelids and stuff, you're like, well, it's good. Everything's shifting. And by the 3rd one, your body, you want it to feel like your shoulders down, your body relaxing, everything relaxing before you let it out. So the jaw is key, relaxing the jaw and just looking up under your eyelids, holding the breath, full breath, and let it out. Do 3 of those. I guarantee you're going to be like in a totally different headspace.
Definitely. I mean, doing that twice itself, or even first at time, it was like I felt calmer. I felt like, okay, I'm more present somehow. Like it felt good. And that's a great thing to do. I would probably, now I'm going to add that. I'm going to tell to some of my friends, like, this is great. This is something I did. And talking to someone so good, like it works. And I think this is going to be really helpful for me. So I'm going to add that to my daily routine.
Good. Awesome. You're welcome.
Yes, I learned something from someone great. That's amazing. But thanks for that. And going back to like voice acting, I always I had like a small amount of interest. I was talking about before, like how I would get inspired by motion caption and stuff like that. I was very much inspired by voice acting at one point, and I did like a small. I didn't do it like it was from an online course, and I watched a little bit of it. And I completed it. And so what was in a lot of people do voice acting. I know some of my friends are trying to do voice acting. What would be like kind of like your biggest advice in terms of voicing or maybe even performance in general in video games?
Okay, you're going to get into voice acting. You're going to have to get over one thing, yourself, because you have to be crazy.
That's number one. Be crazy.
I don't even mean that sarcastically. You have to be willing to be crazy if you want to be a successful voice actor, which means get out of you as far as you can and be willing to step into the unknown of crazy. So that would be my first thing. So be willing to be crazy and enjoy it and thrive in it and have fun in it, because they want crazy. They don't, and if you can do that, great step. Second, mindset. If you're whatever you're going to go to in life, whatever you're going to dive into in life, you're the only one who has to believe it.
That's right.
And until you believe it, no one else will.
That's actually
that's the other thing. So mindset is like, I am this. I am going to do this. I'm going to become this, and I trust that whatever form of higher intelligence you want to use as your avenue for request, whether it's God in any form you look at it, is working with you for your greatest good, for the betterment of all. And you trust, like asking you shall receive kind of trust. And you walk towards that and do everything that you want in your field. of awareness. Your life is a mirror and will reflect back what you are. Opportunities, things, and you just start walking towards that dream. Okay?
Yeah.
Crazy? Because you gotta be crazy. And then mindset, what I'm becoming, and become that and walk towards it, knowing that it's all there for you. And then practice. Everything is towards that. So you're changing basically your paradigm, your shift. You're shifting to one way of being to another. So everything you're going to do is in alignment to that. Those are the two most important things before you even pick up script.
Yeah.
Okay. Next thing is go watch what other people do. See if you can do what they do. See if you can play voices, do that. And like, see, okay, I've got the talent or the skill in this. If I do, okay, well, now what do I got to do next? I got to find the right teachers. I got to find the right venues to like really hone my craft and get skilled at this. So there's lots of places you can find for that. Like I teach, there's a school I teach at on the mic in Vancouver. I also teach with Victoria Atkin on her Vancouver, I'm just blanking out on the name of it right now. Performance Capture. You can find it through the Performance Capture podcast. She has her own thing. We have an e-course, Victoria Atkin and I have created, which I really actually suggest to all people who want to get into this. Our e-course is fantastic. It'll give you all the necessities of getting into this field of video games, especially. It's voiceover for video games with some motion capture and performance capture elements to help you understand. But a very strong course for all the foundational things you'll need of stepping into this world. Before you even get into the field, you'll have all the basics you'll need, all of them. And then from there, it's just expanding on those and getting other teachers and other people to help you hone your craft even better. So those would be my first steps. And then after that, all the other things that are required, like demos and all these things that you need to help people showcase your work. But there's no point showcasing work without the foundation before it.
Yeah, that's right. That's nicely said. I love that you have like a, of course, like an e-course for video games. That'd be great. I would definitely love to share with some of the people that I know who are trying to, get into voice acting as well. So that would be very helpful for them.
I'll send you the link after so you can have it. Yeah.
Definitely. But it's been wonderful talking to you about everything, voice acting, about video games, and about this amazing breathing exercise that I got to do. It just makes me feel so better. So thank you so much for taking the time for talking to me about this. This has been an absolute pleasure for me.
Oh, good. It was a pleasure for me too. Thanks for letting us riff and like just add in a lot of stuff that probably wasn't about Batman, but it was great.
You never know. Maybe that's what Batman was absolutely hiding, and nobody knew. And this was it.
Hey man, empower other people. That's what Bruce Wayne would do.
That's right. Empower other people. That's so cool. I'm just super excited to see what's next for you. Maybe you're working in some video game, maybe you're not, but I'm just looking forward to what's next. And I'm just excited to get to, if that game or whatever comes out, I'm excited to get to experience it.
Oh, thanks, man. I am too. I think that was a phone call, and I'm fingers crossing it's something that I'll get to tell you about in the future. So
yes,
I'll keep you posted.
That would be great.